Donald Trump's former press secretary, Sean Spicer, is giving his thoughts on his former boss's likelihood of running in 2024, saying, quote, he's in, and that the recent bumbles of the Biden administration, specifically on immigration, have motivated the former president to strongly consider running again.
Spicer adds that Trump has lost weight, earned $102 million, and has, quote, high approval ratings, unquote, since leaving office. Team Rising is here to weigh in. Joining us now to discuss is senior editor at Reason.com, Robbie Suave, and Kim Iverson.
Good to be with you.
So, Robbie, what do you think of this? Do you think Donald Trump's running again?
I think Sean Spicer has every reason to get himself back in the headlines currently because he has a book to sell. That's kind of how it goes. And the media obviously loves this endless speculation that will continue for months and indeed years. I don't think he really knows, and I don't think Donald Trump himself really knows yet whether he'll be running. Obviously, there's a strong possibility that he will. He will get the nomination with ease if he does. But I think he's still making that decision, and we're a long way off. But, you know, speculating about this is everybody's favorite game, and everyone wants to sound more knowledgeable about Trump's inner thinking process than they actually are.
I mean, speaking of knowledgeable,
not only this just being like a Sean Spicer trying to sell books, but also this could just be a fundraising tactic. I mean, they've fundraised so much money, and then just to have the prospect of Trump potentially running again. Could you imagine the dollars that are going to be flowing in?
Well, Alyssa, you know, he was also your former boss, and more recently than he was Sean Spicer's boss. What's your read on this?
So I agree with Robbie on this. I don't think even the former president knows if he's running again. I think he's going to weigh a lot of factors. There's a whole ecosystem around him that will encourage him to run. They'll put polling data in front of him that says he could win. They will tell him how well he's doing fundraising. My guess is the former president will wait till the 11th hour to make a decision. So even if he doesn't himself run, he'll be able to be a spoiler, if you see it that way, or kingmaker of sorts in terms of supporting the person who's ultimately the nominee. But, you know, from my perspective, we're ready for some new blood in the Republican Party. And I think that the longer he takes to figure it out, the more the DeSantises and others are rising.
And Robbie, what do you think the consequences are for the GOP of having Trump hang out there, having him dangling out there like this?
Well, if he did declare, firmly right now that he's absolutely going to run, he would, I think, sabotage anybody else's chances because I don't think anyone can really go head to head with him. So actually, by waiting, he is allowing other people to think about getting into the mix. Former Vice President Pence, I think Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, his star is really rising right now. There are a lot of people, obviously a lot of people within the Republican Party who love Trump, also love DeSantis, but might see DeSantis as someone with, I guess, similar policies, but not as much baggage, who I think picks fights with the media in a bit more of a thoughtful way and has had a lot of success doing that. So the longer Trump stays out, it's like Alyssa said, someone like a DeSantis can rise. Although if Trump decides to get in, I can't imagine Republican primary voters ultimately choosing someone other than Trump if Trump is in the race.
The one thing I would just add to that, and I will say this with Democrat speculation or Republican, is 2024 is a lifetime away. So much can change before then. We've got the 1-6 commission. We've got, different factors with COVID and how states are handling it. It's a lifetime away. We could see a lot of different iterations of frontrunners before then.
Well, ultimately, Trump is still extremely popular. And I understand that the Republican Party the establishment Republican Party would love to move on from him. But the voters ultimately get to decide. And I think what's probably going to happen is for the next couple of years, and as you said, Alyssa, it's true, long time away, lots of stuff could happen, that is for sure. But if the voters are still very much for Donald Trump, they love Donald Trump. The guy loves to be loved. So I can certainly see him saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to get these rallies going. It's going to be great.
He does.
That's the issue, right? It's hard to imagine Trump giving up the spotlight if there's a chance that there's a chance, right, that there's a good chance he would run and get the nomination. I think that's all but a certainty. And then there's a good chance he would win. I don't think he would be a favorite to win, but it would be 3 or 4 throws of the coin out of 10. he would win. It's a closely and bitterly divided country. So it's given those sort of realities that he would get the nomination and he very well might win, and he likes the spotlight in doing all the rallies. Why wouldn't he? So that's what the he's not going to run crowd has to contend with. That there are a lot of reasons for him to do it, just for him.
You bring up some really good points, Rob, because I think a lot of people would think that there's no way Trump would win again. But I think it's really important to remember that one of the reasons why he lost was because of the pandemic and his response to the pandemic. And now Joe Biden's getting his chance to show his response to the pandemic. And if things worsen, if these new variants come around, there's a bunch of what ifs still between now and 2024. And if Joe Biden, whose already approval ratings are going down because of the response to the pandemic, if that continues on, then I think you might be right. There is a possibility that not only Trump would get the nomination, but he potentially could even win.
Yeah, people would be insane to discount that.
And Robbie, can you think of a time ever in Trump's life when he had an opportunity for the spotlight and passed it up?
Right, exactly. Really, the only reason that he might not take it is, if he can be in the spotlight, holding rallies, promoting the party, talking to his fans. Technically, he can do that without him being the person running for president. I mean, he could start doing that right now. He could call up any cable news channel, he could call up Fox, and he could talk for as long as he wants at any time. So he doesn't anymore actually need to run for president to get the attention, we know that he craves. But he might decide that's a good vehicle for it. We're just going to have to find out.
Well, Robbie, let me ask you, on the notion that 2024 is a lifetime away and dynamics in this country could change coming out of COVID restrictions, lockdowns. Do you think that there's any chance that we might see sort of the Libertarian wing of the Republican Party get a, second coming?
I would certainly hope so. That's my wing of the party, and I'm always promoting it. I mean, I think the last year, it's funny. A lot of smart thinking people said, well, there's no libertarians in a pandemic. Now, a year and a half later, that seems so stupid to me. I don't know. I don't think anyone could have experienced last year and thought, man, it would be really great if government had more total control over our lives, that the bureaucrats in charge of the FDA and the CDC and other places are really smart people and they're always right, and we should just trust them to be in total control of what we get to do. Does anyone think that? I hope not. I want to give these people, I want to give the federal expert class certainly less control over my life and less control over yours. So I think it would be great for the Republican Party to embrace, not science denial, not anti-vaccine stuff, but embrace a very actually informed by science pushback against the idea that vaccinated people need to be double masked outside. That kind of insane guidance you still see spewing forth sometimes.
Amen to that, Robbie.
Well, Robbie, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Next on Rising, Zed Jelani joins us to discuss possible charges against Governor Andrew Cuomo.